On AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy is John Cass. JohnCassNews.com. Get his columns, the Windy City podcast, and contributors as well.
Chicago
Way podcast. What am I talking about? I was doing this to Jeannie Ives yesterday too. I was changing the name of her show on Sunday nights. Kept saying the right story instead of the real story. Now I'm changing the name of your podcast. I don't know what's happening to me. Falling apart.
You want to be an auteur.
Yes, precisely. All right, so John, Darth Sidious, that would be Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, was on with the obnoxious and insufferable Jim Cramer the other day on that one of those Investotainment shows on CNBC. Right. And Fink had this to say about his Bitcoin ETF and giving an indication of his confidence in Bitcoin and crypto as an asset class. Take a listen.
I'm very bullish on the long-term viability of Bitcoin.
I was going to say, did that surprise you?
That surprised me how much that's gone up. I mean, look, it is. We're creating now a market that has more liquidity, more transparency, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and I would never have predicted it before we filed it, that we were going to see this type of retail demand.
So you thought you'd do good, but not this good.
I thought, yes.
Well, IBIT is your ETF over at iShares.
Yes.
It's about to overtake Grayscale, which was in the business certainly a lot longer. You look at the gains since January 11th when it first came about.
Yes.
Have you ever seen this much inflow this quickly into
IBIT is the fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs.
So what does that mean about where you should put your money? Should I put all my money into Larry Fink's Bitcoin ETF, or should I put it on UConn to win a second championship in a row? I'm debating.
Grayscale, I thought, was the deadly skin disease in Game of Thrones.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I want to invest in something that I don't know what you're doing, and someone else can say how much it's worth, and I'll give you my money. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you sound like a skeptic, like our next guest, Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, which is 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy closed from 1 to 1:30. Both that's Chicago time, and both are at RFD-TV. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Happy Good Friday.
Same to you. So, what say you to what said Larry Fink?
I don't have any Bitcoin myself. I've never put a customer in Bitcoin while I was broker for 35 years. It's almost like, it reminds me, I'm Dutch, right? How about the tulip markets 500 years ago?
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's this insatiable appetite for and fear of missing out. The first question I would ask anybody is, what does Bitcoin do? I mean, that's my problem. Nobody really has it. I mean, I have an idea what it does, but we've got a lot of investors that are doing something, I think John just kind of alluded to, that they have no idea why they're buying it. And I think that I'm not massively a fan of Warren Buffett, but I think he put it best when, if your only investment strategy is to buy it because you think the guy standing in line behind you is going to pay more than you did, that's not an investment strategy.
Yeah,
Let
let me posit another reason to buy it, though. Not Bitcoin or particularly Fink's ETF, is because you can't fight City Hall. And between State Street and Vanguard and BlackRock, they basically control the Western world. And so if Larry Fink says it and that's the direction he's going to take everybody, then you can't fight City Hall. And you should probably do it even if you don't understand it. What do you say to that?
Two words for you: irrational exuberance. I mean, if you're that's still not That's still not an investment strategy. And number two is that it's so volatile. It's not for the average investor. I mean, last year, 2 years ago, it had a high of 68,000 and went down to 16,000. Now we've rallied all the way back up to 78,000, and it's all of a sudden it's good again. Well, there's a lot of people that just had a break-even party when we went back through 68,000, and they had to suffer, for about a year and a half. Look, there are some interesting things to it. Part of it was sold to me that it was going to be out from underneath the government purview, but because the government's so broke, now that's not going to be the case. They're taxing it already. And a lot of the things, by the way, that Venmo and Zelle does, as those things, more satisfy a lot of what people are worried about. I know it's a store of wealth outside of the dollar, outside of gold.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not really a store because it's so volatile. I don't know why. I just wouldn't put anybody in it because it's just not for everybody. It's actually not for a lot of people.
Speaking of crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, favorite mega donor to the Democrat Socialists when he had money, when he had megas to donate. He got a 25-year sentence yesterday. Was that too lenient, too draconian, just about right? What's your view on the Bankman-Fried demise?
I was surprised. I thought it was lenient. I did. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that lost a lot of money with what he did, and it was. Here, does that ever feel like end of days to you? Like that's crazy what he just did, right? Yeah, that's crazy what he just did. Bitcoin is crazy. The stock market yielding 10% in the first 3 months of this year is crazy. There are so many things out there, and that's a great example of it, that tell me to go back down in my hole and wait till this thing is over, because right now we're out of our minds. There's hardly any rationale out there except for maybe putting your money away for a year in a U.S. Treasury at 5%. That's the only thing that I like right now, because this thing is a house of cards, and I don't want to be Chicken Little telling you that the sky's going to fall. I will tell you this: for 36 years of being in this business, I have never seen so many warning signs, so much corruption, so much deviance that I'm afraid what's coming around the corner, because this is all on smoke and mirrors. And all these things that we're making these decisions on, like whatever, Sam Bankman-Fried, he has to pay $11 billion and he goes away for 25 years. But he ruined people's lives. Yeah. And he did it blatantly. But he was exalted as this new person that was going to come save society. And he is just the weird kid at the back of the room in your class when you were in fourth grade, eating paste and sticking crayons up his nose.
Well,
the emperor has no clothes.
Take it easy. I was that kid, and I don't. Hey, it's still very sensitive. So, with respect to Sam Bankman-Fried, and this whole sort of everything is a house of cards. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but why can't the market be up 10% in the first 3 months of the year? Because we're on the cusp of this this new technological revolution with artificial intelligence, and that's what's driving innovation, and it's going to result in untold wealth creation. So why can't we see this as legitimate, and why shouldn't we be optimistic?
Because every solid society since the beginning of this planet, you have to have a solid middle class, okay? And if you take the generally held belief that 15% of Americans own 85% of the stocks, that's a general number. Say it could be 20-80, but 15, 85, whatever. It's in that area. If you go to those folks that own stocks and they own real estate, I don't care what age they are, this is the best market they've ever seen in their entire lives. But you look at the bottom 80, bottom 70% of this economy, those folks, mom and pop, Main Street, they're probably living paycheck to paycheck. They might not even own their home. They're renting. They don't have a huge 401k if they have one at all. There's never been a worse market for them. They've seen inflation go up 34% in the food they buy every day. They've seen inflation go up 33% in their energy that they touch every week. They're losing money on a daily basis because of what's been happening with all of these government spending programs and inflation. We're losing the middle class because they just can't keep up, but nobody cares because the upper 10, 15, 20% are the ones that are running the television stations telling you how great the stock market's doing. And if you go out to Main Street, just take a car, go drive out, an hour outside of Chicago. There are people that are not. They don't know what to do. They've gone from spending their pandemic savings to maxing out their credit cards. Credit cards that's the highest we've ever seen it. Then they've gone to home equity lines of credit, but then that got up to 8%. And they couldn't afford that anymore. Then we've got record redemptions on emergency loans out of 401ks that we've never seen before. And now we've got this new thing called buy now, pay later, which is why we had any Christmas numbers as far as retail sales. The consumer is 70% of this economy, and he's about to roll over and be dead. And I tell you, fine, join the stock market, let's have a party, but it feels like I've been doing it for a long time. I've seen this before. Everything is too good. Name me an asset class that's not doing well. That's what should scare you.
I wanted to talk about something, something else that's a bit frightening, and what you're seeing around Western Europe mainly hasn't quite come to the United States yet, not in this form, but these farmer protests that are happening in Ireland and the Netherlands and Belgium over EU climate regs that are going to reduce production and imperil farmers who produce, food. So how should we understand the impact of what the EU is doing and what we're not too far behind in doing right now, at least with this current power structure?
And we're up to speed now with the omnibus bill that we just passed through. But I'll tell you, I'll give you what I see. Look, there are two things you need to control the globe, right? And that's food and fuel. And the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and those people that are in that cabal are trying to take over food and fuel, right? This whole anti-fossil fuel thing, which is 100% a farce. We do things very cleanly with our fossil fuels here. There's a big argument being made. I do it on my show all the time about how the carbon footprint of an electric vehicle is worse than a combustion engine. But now that they've got farmers in their crosshairs because of cattle and grain. And they don't like the grain because it takes fossil fuels and fertilizers to help boost that production. And they don't like cattle because of the methane and what it does to the atmosphere. I'm telling you, they are going for farmers. Farmers are the first line of defense for this country. They are trying to put them out of business. And they've got people like Bill Gates, and they've got people like Jeff Bezos that are trying to develop lab-grown meat so we don't have to kill animals anymore. It's gone on. It's moved on from ESG, environment, social, and governance, all that garbage. It started off that way. But now the World Economic Forum is going to try to convince you it's not just about the climate. It's immoral to raise an animal to kill it and eat it. And so they're trying to put Gates and Bezos are out front, and they're very blatant about it. What? Yeah,
even veal? I feel like having a veal chop while you're talking. Go on.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm Dutch, like I said. The veal's a big part of us. But so they're going to try to put farmers out of business because of they're going to run it up as a climate thing, but it's really a moral thing to them. These people are nuts, and also with the fossil fuels. Now, in that last omnibus bill, that $1.2 trillion thing that just got passed through, there's $15 million in there that is going to help force farmers to electronically tag, register every cow in the country, just like it's a gun. So they're going to have a register now of how many animals, who owns them, and where. And that is the beginning of, so they're going to curtail the beef movement because they're going to say it's bad for the climate. They've already done that in Europe. We've got $15 million in this latest bill to help tag all of our animals in this country. It's absolutely happening here already. And anybody that's in agriculture should be scared because the World Economic Forum, these folks have a lot of money. Bezos, Gates, they're already doing it with this lab-grown meat and fake meat. I mean, why do we need fake meat and why do we need lab-grown meat? I mean, who goes to Gibson's and wants fake meat? I mean, it doesn't make sense. But if it doesn't make sense, that means somebody else is making money off it.
Well, the attitude is that, well, we're going to improve humanity. I mean, we can change people. These people are Mr. Potato Head, so we can change their parts and we can change their appetites and we can change their understandings of the world around them. I mean, everything is about the human being as a blank canvas. And so, I mean, I agree that that's absolutely the philosophy, but the implication, I mean, I think, again, the things that people don't believe until it's too late. The implication that they're really targeting farmers in a way that would imperil food supply, but that's what you're suggesting.
Oh, it's 100% what I'm suggesting. They are doing it right now. I go out and I'm speaking to a lot. I just got back from Broken Bow, Nebraska, and Holstein, Iowa. And I talked to 250, cattle ranchers at both places. And I told them, I looked them right in the eye and said, they are coming for your business right now. If you don't have, a voice and a concerted group to defend you, it's going to be very difficult because they're so disparate, right? These people over COVID, they didn't crawl underneath their desk, sucking their thumbs, shaking, waiting for a vaccine. They had to go out and milk the cows. They had to go put the plants in the ground, and they had to go, tend to the cattle. There was no such thing as COVID for ranchers and farmers in America. They're the heart and soul, and it's the last bastion of common sense. These people don't fall for that garbage, right? And so I tell them they are the number one target for the World Economic Forum and all these people that think they're going to make society better because of exactly what they do with food and fuel. And I can't scream it loud enough, but it's absolutely happening. And when people say it can't happen here, I tell you right now, another thing is the central bank digital currency. That's another form of control, and I'm not a whacked out person. I don't have a tinfoil hat on right now. When people say, "Oh, you're," it's already happened. Look what they did to the truckers in Canada. They took over their bank accounts. I mean, it's already happening, but people are just blissfully walking around. We gave up all of our rights over COVID for this perception of safety. Now people are giving up their rights for convenience. Oh, I don't want cash. It's too much of a pain. Let's just all have a central bank digital currency card. I mean, we're giving up everything because it's inconvenient. I mean, I've never seen anything like. That's why I feel like it's end of days. Oh, it's not. It's a great country. We'll get through it. But there's going to be an uncomfortable period when we have to get back to normal.
Well, but just to distinguish, I mean, the Bitcoin and the pro crypto crowd is not for the centrally backed digital currency, not for a government backed digital currency either. For that very reason, they don't want that sort of tracking and the ability to turn you on and turn you off in terms of your access to your money, right? I mean, that is so. I mean, there is a distinction there.
Yeah, and this is I guess there is a very big distinction there. You're right, and that's they like that because it's out from underneath the purview of a lot of things. But with that central bank digital currency, I'll take it one step further. When they get rid of cash, and that's what they ultimately want to do, and cash is freedom, folks. Don't think anything else. But they're going to say now when we have an economic problem, like we're not spending enough, they want to spur on the economy instead of lowering interest rates like that. What they would normally do to try to spur on economic activity. If you make $5,000 a month and then you get paid on your central bank digital currency card, right? It's going to come with a caveat. Spend this by the end of next month or you lose it.
Right.
Will we have social credits like the people in China?
We already have them. Our banks in America are doing social credit scores already. They're mixing ESG and your credit score already. They just don't publicize it. They're already doing that. And then now it's already happening. It's that people just don't realize that the power and the control. One thing I'd like to say about these, the border's obviously been a big issue, right? And I've read a lot about it. I just don't understand in my heart of hearts why you would want to destroy your own country by bringing down the borders and letting anybody come in, right? And because we all are normal people, we look at the border as keeping people out, right? But when you're talking about the World Economic Forum and the administration that's currently in power now, I heard Hillary Clinton say it, and that's really what piqued my interest. But when a politician or people that think they don't want to run the cabal that wants to run the world, when they look at borders as a barrier to them spreading their power. So they'd rather have no borders so they can spread their power, rather than you and I look at it like we want a border to keep people out because we want to preserve our society. And so this is their mindset. Let's control the food, we'll control the fuel, we'll get rid of borders, and we'll control the world. There's 8 billion people on the planet. The World Economic Forum had it on their website. It's overpopulated. It should be 500 million. And I guarantee you the World Economic Forum folks think that they should be part of that 500 million.
Michael Lind, a professor down at University of Texas, had a good piece in Tablet on this topic, too, called The War on Citizenship. And this is a great line that speaks to what you just said, Scott. For global elites, countries are merely exotic names for trade zones and labor camps, and citizenship has about as much ethical or emotional significance as a gym membership. That's how they view it. And it's really a good point, because if you don't understand what the opponent is thinking, then you're not going to understand why he or she is doing what they're doing. And that seems to be a recurring problem in terms of believing what's actually happening and what motivates some people to pursue the policies like open borders they pursue. Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady, he is the market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1. The Cow Guy close as well. He's the host, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD-TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Happy Easter, guys. Good to talk to you.
Happy Easter to you, sir. Coming up at 7:37, we'll talk POTUS politics, Trump trials with Scott McKay, not the Cow Guy, just Scott. Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride, 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Scott.
7:32, 33 degrees. In Chicago this morning, our eyes are on South Africa after a bus carrying worshipers headed to an Easter weekend church gathering plunged off a bridge into a mountain pass and burst into flames, killing at least 45, with only one